brother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Yeah. Father, we don't need to escalate. Oh, not the answer, for only love can conquer. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first 2016 edition of Romeo's Hot Topics, Topics. My name is Romeo, and again, I am the CEO of Romeo's Hot Topics. Today, we come with a very serious subject on the regards of the way police are handling their matters nowadays. And I just want to start off by reading this to every officer here across the United States. Now, I don't know whether this video is going to reach that far. I'm hoping that it does, because I'm sending out a very serious message right here. This is something that every officer in the United States have to go through when they go through their police academy. Okay, and this is something that they have to go through. This is their oath. This is a police officer's oath. I do swear that I will well and truly serve our sovereign country and state as a police officer without favor or affection, malice or ill will, until I am legally discharged, that I will see and cause our community's peace to be kept and preserved, and that I will prevent, to the best of my power, all offenses against that peace, and that will, while I continue to be a police officer, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof faithfully according to the law. So help me God. What has happened? Over the past few years, what has happened? Okay, and I'm gonna tell you what's happened. Okay, now this is Romeo's Hot Topics, keeping it real, and this is coming from a real down-to-earth brother that has been around, and officers who has become officers these days, coming in of the world that we live in today. Once they get that badge and that gun, all of a sudden they become Superman. They become above the law. Okay, but your oath, you are here to serve and protect, not to bring harm, and not to take things above what you are here to put on this earth to do. Okay? Which is going to bring me to this. A lot of you officers out here forget what folks' constitutional rights is. Let me say this to you. Let me read this to you again. To all of your officers out here, let me read to you, because a lot of you have forgotten what our constitutional rights are. Rights given or reserved to the people by the U.S. Constitution, and in particular the Bill of Rights, first 10 amendments. These rights include writ of habeas corpus, no bill of attainder, no duties or taxes or transporting goods from one state to another, jury trials, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, petition, state militia to bear arms, no quartering of troops in homes, no unreasonable search and seizure. Major crimes required indictment, no double jeopardy for the same crime, no self-incrimination, right to due process, right to just compensation for property taken by eminent domain. In criminal law, right to speedy trial, to confront witness against one, and to counsel, trial by jury, right to bail, no excessive fines, no cruel and unusual punishment, Unenumerated rights are reserved to the people, equal protection of laws, 14th Amendment, no racial bars to voting, no sex bars to voting, no poll tax. Constitutional interpretation has been expanded and added nuisance to these rights. Y'all forgot about that as well. Okay, what has happened? Everybody and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good officers that is out here today. Okay, but let's keep it real. Just like y'all folks say, oh, the Masons is an underground secret organization. Well, just like the Masons have an organization as your per se, so does the police, the Brotherhood of Police. They're both under the Brotherhood. And that's why a lot of these things is happening because of the oath under the Brotherhood, not under the oath that you came in under as a police officer. So, let's bring this to the fact. 4 unarmed men, and many more, since this article came out, since the Ferguson trial. You have Ferguson, Missouri. Eric Gardner from Staten Island, New York, July 17th. John Crawford from Beaver Creek, Ohio, August 5th. Excel Ford, Los Angeles, California, August 11th. And then you had Dante Parker, Victoriaville, California, August 12th. Why so many killings of our black youth, unarmed? Why? Okay, all of this started from when a regular white man, Zimmerman, took it upon himself to go ahead and mess with someone that was in his own neighborhood, mind his own business, and he got away with murder. So that made the rest of y'all officers that already had an S on your chest just lose your damn mind. Okay? Thinking that you wouldn't be penalized, with what a lot of you still getting away. There's a lot of you that's still out there that's done got away with murdering the youth unnecessarily. But those that are getting caught, what goes around comes around, and remember that. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. The main thing about this that bring this about was the Lynchburg police arrest that happened just recently, March the 5th, 2016. Now, the thing that made me actually talk about this is because of the inconsistencies of the reports, okay? And as I bring this video up, it's not a good video, so, I want to explain a little bit about it. They say in the first report that it shows that an officer responding to a call on a home in Stratford Road on Saturday, Xavier Cruz's sister recorded the video while yelling at police to release her brother. Tuesday, Lynchburg Police Chief Raul Diaz said someone inside the house, listen to what I'm saying, folks, right here, this is real important. Someone inside the house called 911 about a domestic violence situation and possible drug use around a child. Diaz said when the officers came to the house, Crute refused to let them in. When the officers tried to detain Crute, it turned physical. Stop. I want to bring a little something to everybody's attention real quick. In order to stop or detain someone, the police must have reasonable suspicion and objectively reasonable basis to suspect that the detainee is or involved in a crime. This isn't a full-blown arrest, such as when an officer employs handcuffs and takes the suspect to the station. Rather, It's an interaction in which the citizen isn't necessarily accused of a crime, but also isn't free to leave, at least until the officer indicates otherwise. What reason did the officer have when Mr. Corte, I'm sorry, let me make sure I said his name correctly. Uh, yes, he turned around, he told the officer, no, you are not allowed in my house, using his rights, okay? He turned around to go into his house, and the officers went to detain him. They also said that, so that's one right that was already broken, because they had no right to detain, they had no suspicion or anything that this man had committed a crime or was involved in a crime. They also said that when they walked up to the door, they heard screaming from inside the house. As you see on the video, the only screaming that was being done at the time was his sister telling the officers to let her brother go. So there was three people that was in at this scene: the sister, the brother, and the mother. The mother was inside the house. There was supposed to have been a domestic disturbance call. Who inside of the three inside the house called 911? The mother wasn't in the house screaming. There was no baby in the house screaming, but they from the update on the report that I seen today, they took the children. Okay, they didn't mention that it was any drugs, but they took the children. But there was no scenes of physical or domestic abuse. And then they stated when they came up, this was the other inconsistency in the reports. They stated when they came up to the house, um, that the involved, listen to what I'm saying now, this is what the report says. The involved, they talked to the involved that was included in this situation, that stated that there might be drug use in front of a child in the house. Well, who is this involved person? Because from what the first report says, the call was made from within inside the house. Okay, so if it was the number one thing that pops into my head is, if there was a domestic dispute going on, and I seen officers coming up to the front door, and I see the one who's actually serving a domestic dispute upon someone in the house in front of my kids, I'm going to yell out to the officers, yes, that's him that did it. But you did not hear that, folks. You heard his sister yelling at the cops to get off her brother. Okay, so, there's a lot of things that is misinterpreted here, as I read across the reports. And I'm going to go over reports real good, because I don't want nobody coming back at me talking no bullcrap. Romeo, you don't know what you're talking about. News release from Lynchburg Police Department. March 5th, Lynchburg Police responded to the 1200 block of Stratford Road in City Lynchburg for a domestic dispute assault. Officer Gifford and Hughes contacted the alleged victim, who was still on the scene. Once on the scene, the officer spoke with an involved party who claimed there was a child inside the residence and drugs were being used in front of the child. Officers heard screaming and yelling coming from inside the residence as they approached the front door. Mr. Crute stepped outside and met them, and the officers could smell odor of marijuana coming from the residence. The combination of information gave officers the legal authority to enter the residence to check well-being of the occupants, including the child, and to ensure no one was injured or in distress. Officers continued to hear a female screaming inside the residence and requested permission to enter the residence, which was denied by Mr. Crute. The officers requested Mr. Crute to have the female come out to the front door and verify her safety. Mr. Crute refused that request as well. At the time, Mr. Crute attempted to go back inside the residence. Officers attempted to detain Mr. Crute, and physical struggle ensued. So that's just that you know, and that's coming from, I'm not coming from me, that's coming from the report. This is why I have a problem with that, because there's too many inconsistencies in the report. Okay, and that's what Romeo's Hot Topics is all about, keeping it real and letting you know something don't smell right here down in Lynchburg, Virginia. Okay, these folks' constitutional rights and liberal rights has been violated. Okay, now, yes, it was wrong for him to punch the cop in his mouth. That's another thing that they said in the video that I did not see. They said that he punched the cop in the jaw and then he turned around and bit the cop's hand. But the only thing that was in the report was that the gentleman, Mr. Crute, was the only one that was seen by Lynchburg paramedics and first aid fire squad, and he was taken to the hospital, and he was released with no injuries to him. Well, excuse me, if a person bites you on your hand, I don't give a damn where they bite you at. You're an officer of the law, per se. Why wasn't there a report stating that that officer was taken to the hospital to check if he had any rabies or whatever have you? You don't know what nobody have nowadays if you bite them. Am I correct, America? Let me know if I'm wrong here. No, so what I'm saying, and I'm going to wrap this up. Officers, the good officers of the law, we need you to start standing up. And I'm talking about the ones that are bound to the brotherhood of secrecy, the underground, as y'all do have, you know. And ain't nobody, no need to deny it, because you do, you're bound by the brotherhood of the police, okay? If you see your brother officer doing something wrong, okay, pull him by his damn collar, like, yo, this is not what we're here to do, okay? Your officers is out here to protect citizens like myself, your child, your aunt, your niece, whoever, your family, okay? That is what your job is here in America. Not just because you got a badge and a gun, you feel as though you can shoot somebody and, oh, I'm an officer in the law, I can get away with it. No, it don't go down like that. You're here to serve a purpose, and that purpose is to serve. Until next time, my name is Stacey, aka Romeo. Y'all folks have a pleasant day.
Mother, there's too many of you cry.